Hello, this is Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. I'm your host, Miles, and if you've ever wondered what happens when you blend McKinsey honed discipline with the heart of a teacher and the instincts of a change strategist, well, you're about to meet the blueprint today because we'll be joined by a guest who's worked with more than 180 organizations across every sector you can imagine, from BMW and Lockheed Martin to NASA, the U.S. Departments of Justice and Defense, and a long list of state and municipal agencies. He's trained and facilitated sessions for over 58,000 people, helping organizations rethink complexity, strengthen leadership, and navigate some of the most sensitive DEI and change management journeys with clarity and calm. But what I find especially fascinating is the chapter he's in now, where he's turning decades of wisdom into a roadmap for seasoned professionals who want to launch and grow their own independent consulting practices, especially those who feel undervalued, overlooked, or ready for a second career that puts freedom and purpose first. He's widely regarded as one of the most grounded, practical, and insightful voices in organizational development and change leadership. I'd like y'all to meet the managing director of Thompson and Associates, Leroy Thompson. Hi,
Miles,
Leroy.
Miles, what a pleasure. And thank you so much for the generous introduction. Great to be with you today.
You're very much welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on X-Rays. And, I'm ready for this conversation because the work you're doing now, especially helping people rediscover the value of their expertise, is something so many professionals quietly dream about. You've built this incredibly multifaceted career, hundreds of organizations, tens of thousands of people trained, some of the most complex agencies and industries on your client list. When you look back at that journey, Leroy, what originally pulled you into the world of organizational development and strategic consulting?
Well, I'd have to say, Miles, certainly in terms of consulting, it's probably the fact that when I was a small child, I really couldn't sit still for very long. And so when I got into the professional world, I was really drawn to the pace of the consulting world, the variety of experience that you had, and just the idea of really having to learn new things on a regular basis and then translate those into concepts and ideas that benefited organizations. And so that was kind of my entry. As I got into the consulting field, we all discover certain capabilities that we didn't necessarily know we had. And I found that I had a knack for a couple things. One was a knack for forming hypotheses, seeing enough situations time and time again and be able to draw some principles that seem to at least get you started in a new circumstance. And so that's made it a pretty effective approach in terms of saving time, which for clients certainly saves money. And then being
Yeah.
able to take those hypotheses, use a systems thinking process, and then the idea of kind of synthesizing the key things. And so I think a lot of us have these skills, and you put yourself in a situation and you discover that you have these particular capacities. And the bottom line for me, though, is just the gratification. When you meet so many people who are working so incredibly hard to produce good outcomes for society and for their companies, when you can help simplify the work just a bit, make it easier for them to do it, and at the same time, improve the quality and their commitment to doing it well. And so those are all the kinds of things that I found that consulting provides such a unique opportunity. And I was just drawn to that. And even at this stage in my career, still continue to be drawn to it.
Yeah, well, I love that, learning new things on a regular basis. And I like that you see this more like, as you said, it begins with gratification. So you see this as a blessing, especially the part about translating ideas into something that genuinely helps people work better and feel better.
Yeah,
You're
it's so important to do things that one you like and that you feel matter and make a difference. And again,
Yeah.
whenever you can help hardworking people do that even better, it just gives you a real good sense of satisfaction that what I contributed actually, had some lasting value and made life easier for other people.
Yeah, what a great passion. And you're basically simplifying complexity. And you mentioned that consulting world space and variety. And one thing people often assume is that only big firms can really dominate that space. Yet you've managed not just to compete, but often outperform them. What do you think allowed you to consistently deliver value that even the larger firms sometimes can't?
Well, I think one of the first things that happened was finding a niche that I didn't necessarily know was going to be as lasting and having such staying power. And so when I finally decided through the aggravation and the frustration of being employed, kind of like a lot of people that I work with, I realized that the one thing that's probably never going to go away is change. And
Yes.
recognizing how difficult it is for us to handle change individually, but how important it is to manage that. I sort of settled into this broad niche of change management. And fortunately, again, it was a good idea because it's one of those things that continues to be a difficulty, both on the organizational level and certainly on the personal level. As more change increases, being able to deal with that, to turn the change into opportunity becomes a pretty significant difference. The other thing I think that gives us staying power is a little bit counterintuitive. And that is, I learned from some other experts in this field a long time ago that the best time to kind of reinvent yourself is actually when things are going well. And so all along, I
Mhm.
was just kind of, touched with that idea. And so I've continually, almost on a monthly basis, thought about, okay, we're in a good space now, but it's not going to stay that way forever. What can I begin to think about that actually
Okay.
might be on the horizon? And then to slowly, incrementally kind of incorporate that. And so I've managed to kind of stay current in a lot of
Uh-huh.
ways. One of those is recognizing that in this consulting business, they're fads, ideas and concepts come and go. And quite often, an idea that really is effective gets replaced by something else just because people are all excited about it. And so what I've also done, I think that's helped, is to stay in touch with some of the older ideas and techniques that really do work and give them a refresh, give them a different look. And use them in the work that I do with organizations, and so that's been pretty critical. The other part of it is just the execution of it, and so knowing that I wanted to be independent very quickly and recognizing that although having a firm was a great thing, the lifestyle part of this was so critical that I developed my own business model that made it easy to do what I call accounting for scope creep, right? Building into the practice the ability to do more than a client is expecting, but to do it in a way that is still profitable for me and offers them a reasonable fee for those services. And so most things that are successful, we fall into them and we
Uh-huh.
recognize, that there's an opportunity in there. So that mix of things, being in a niche that has been pretty consistent and being able to stay current and sometimes a little bit ahead of the curve has really given me some staying power. And I credit, all the organizations and all the individuals that I work with giving me those insights. I did not come up with
Yeah.
these things on my own.
Very humble of you.
Oh,
I
it's the
mean,
truth, though.
thank you for sharing that, reinventing yourself, staying on the cutting edge. I mean, what you mentioned, pivoting not when there's a problem, but rather when you're doing well. It's something we talk about a lot in business development, but you're actually living it. And I think clients feel that energy. Plus, of course, flexibility. As you said, change is inevitable. You can't put a price tag on a partner who isn't nickel and diming you to death, right?
Exactly, exactly. You really have to avoid doing that if you want to make it easy for clients to work with you. And Miles, I think that's one of the advantages of independent consulting,
Mhm.
not having such a huge footprint in terms of people and place that you can't make those shifts. That's really important. And it's one of the reasons that I emphasize independent consultant over building a firm. Certainly the
Mhm.
ideas that I share are applicable to starting an organization. But to have that flexibility is so critical. To stay lean, to stay relatively small and compact is a huge advantage when we're dealing with these kinds of changes that we face across all industries these days.
Yeah, that's refreshing. And I learned this is a pivotal moment in your career, and I love how you openly speak about that. What shifted you personally or professionally that inspired you to focus on helping seasoned professionals to build their own consulting practices?
Yeah, so and you're right when you say personal and professional because it really is a combination of the two. On the personal side, it goes back what I mentioned previously in terms of when I started the firm. It was really out of a need to reprioritize the things that were really important to me. And I think a lot of people face this. I have a family. I had two great kids. Now have grandkids, and I
Wow.
did not want the opportunity to be successful in business to interfere with all the small things that enrich you as a family. So I wanted to be the dad who could go to the zoo, bring cupcakes on the birthday, right? But still, be able to
Yeah.
provide in an incredible fashion, as well as the other interests that I have personally, other things I wanted to do and get involved in, kind of a mosaic career in respects. And so the personal side of that was just building a business that fit my lifestyle. as opposed to having to fit my lifestyle into a business. And I think that's been really rewarded. And then, when you teach clients certain things, one of the things us consultants tend not to do is to follow our own advice. I think it's just part of the nature of the business. We always tell clients to be very aware of where your organization is in its life cycle. A business is a living thing, and to make changes and adjustments as you go through that life cycle. And I started to recognize that after years of consulting expertise, it was really time to make a shift. It was really time
Mhm.
to begin to think of ways that I could actually monetize my own expertise by helping people do the same thing that I've been able to do successfully. And so there was certainly a very personal significance to making the change that I've made. And then professionally, again, having worked with so many different organizations and run into so many incredible people in organizations with lots of skill and lots of expertise and lots of frustration. Not feeling valued in the workplace setting, not appreciating that the small things that they do on a regular basis are
Yes.
revolutionary ideas, right? To people who don't
Mm-hmm.
do that kind of work. And then, of course, we are in that the baby boom generation, record numbers of people who are facing the opportunity to retire, but
Uh-huh.
really have a different idea of what that looks like. And so the idea of taking all those years of expertise and rather than just retiring, transform it into a business that they can maintain. Again, the
Right.
lifestyle concept comes into the fore as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so, those were both personal and professional aspects of it. And unfortunately, given that I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, I do a lot of work with government.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, there are record numbers of people, especially at the federal level, impacted by the recent shutdown. Many of them are actually reevaluating which way to
I
go. And
know.
these are folks with incredible knowledge and incredible expertise. And so, both personally and professionally, it sort of seemed like the stars were aligned as close as they would be.
Yeah.
And I really thought this was a great opportunity to help other people in this era do the same that I did kind of way back in the day, as you'd say.
Hmm. Well, everything falls down to your values. I mean, you're speaking to so many people right now, especially those who've spent maybe 20 or 30 years building expertise and suddenly feel stuck or undervalued.
Right.
And you're right. The number of professionals looking for a second career or a more flexible lifestyle is enormous, I'm sure. It's
It really is.
empowering. Yeah, it's just empowering to hear there's a real path forward for them. And when those individuals, Leroy, or even full organizations work with you, what kind of transformation can they realistically expect? What's the shift you're most proud of helping people
Yeah.
achieve?
Yeah, and that's the right word is transformation. There are lots of other folks who do similar kinds of work in terms of training and education, and I recognize myself. I really don't want to sit through a training program. I don't want to buy an online course with all these modules to help me learn new stuff. I want a transformation. I want to fulfill the vision or picture, and so I just keep thinking of what I would want at this stage and what would be valuable to me. And so, what we basically offer, in this idea of moving into an independent consulting practice, taking those years of expertise, is that transformation. In
Mhm.
many cases, transforming from being uncertain and undervalued. To having a really clear idea of, as you said, how all those years of expertise can
Uh-huh.
be easily translated into a very manageable and a very successful independent consulting practice where, I feel on a regular basis that I'm adding lots of value in helping the people that I work with. The most tragic thing I've seen is individuals who feel stuck, that there's no option for them. And it's so incredibly rewarding to help someone appreciate that, the things that they take for granted because they do them all the time, once again, are
Mhm.
really important ideas and concepts that not only can be shared with other people, but organizations and individuals are actually willing to pay you for that
Right.
expertise. And
Why
so maybe,
not?
yeah, maybe for the first time in the professional lives, they get a new image of what their own future looks like, and they see themselves as someone who is relied upon, someone who is looked to for their expertise. And it can be a very, very tiny niche, or it can be a
Mm-hmm.
huge area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
But just the satisfaction of doing that. And then, what I try to provide for them on a very tailored basis is basically a consulting framework that generates income, protects their time, and allows them, again, maybe to accomplish some of those goals and that sense of purpose that their past experience haven't allowed them. And so I have to tell you, Miles, that as gratifying as it has been to help these other organizations, I'm feeling so much more gratification helping
Mhm.
individuals reinvent themselves and accomplish their dream, if you will. And I don't think that's too far-fetched of a term of being
Uh-huh.
independent at the same time, being able to accommodate all the different things in their lives and being able to fund those activities, right?
Yeah,
In
I
a
know.
successful consulting practice, you can't get around that. You
Yeah.
can't get around the need to be able to have those experiences. And so those are the kinds of things that the people I work with tell me, and what I see reflected in their eyes sometimes when they talk about the new insights and the new opportunities that they're running into in this independent consultancy. Again, some very, very small, some large, but the same principles seem to apply across the board.
Yeah. And I'm sure it feels rewarding for both sides. You giving a new and better feature for them. I mean, that transformation from undervalued to in control is huge. And I see it all the time. Once people realize the value of what they already know, everything changes. And I love how you frame consulting as more than just a business model, Leroy, but as a lifestyle design. And I learned a big part of your mission right now is helping professionals monetize the expertise. You've touched on
Yeah.
that earlier. They've spent years perfecting. So, in your experience, what's the biggest misconception people have about launching a
Hmm.
successful consulting practice?
Yeah, there are a number. I would say one of the top ones is just not feeling that they're in a position to be able to give other people knowledge and information.
Oh,
Particularly if you've been in a job setting where, again, you do very important work, but you don't get the sense that you're appreciated. After a while, it's
uh-huh.
hard to believe that someone would pay me to do
Yeah.
something as simple as what I do.
They
There's a
become doubtful
technical
of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a technical term for that. It's called imposter syndrome. That I
Yes.
feel like I really don't belong here, and just helping them,
Mm-hmm.
overcome that. And in so many instances, all I really have to do to help them is to tell them my own story and the fact that yeah, I went through that same a particular process. So that's one thing. The other is again underestimating how valuable the common sense knowledge and the tools and the skills that they picked up are to other people. If you've been doing the same job for many, many years, it's routine to you. It's common sense. You could do it in your sleep, literally. And to appreciate that what's common sense to you is a
Uh-huh.
new idea, a new insight, sometimes a revolutionary breakthrough for others who just don't have those years of experience, who don't have the
Right.
particular knowledge. And so I often tell them that, you are more capable of doing this than you really think. And it's because you're so used to the excellent work that you've done for the many years in your field. And I think the third thing is just not appreciating how relatively easy it is to enter into the consulting field. Again, the key is identifying a niche that you can be very successful in that has long-term visibility and recognizing that you don't have to be some aggressive salesperson flying all over the country. We've done that,
I
we
agree.
call ourselves
Uh-huh.
road warriors, but you can actually find a area to work in that's very sustainable, that's very manageable, and you can be highly rewarded for that. And so, just helping them appreciate that, giving them the tools to do it, helping them identify the questions to ask, and then walking them through that process. It really does simplify it. It's never easy. Success is never easy. And so I
Yeah.
think it would be misleading to say it's easy to do. I can say that it's not anywhere near as difficult as people actually imagine. And of
Yeah.
course, having done that, it's easy for me to say, and hopefully I'm able to translate that reality to others who are interested in the same kind of future.
Uh-huh. Well, with that energy, I'm sure, and that's so true. People really do underestimate what they know because I guess it's second nature to them. I mean, organizations out there spending years and millions trying to build that same capability internally. And your take on relationship-driven consulting, Leroy, it resonates deeply with someone like me who's built a career on trust and
Yeah.
connection, not simply selling.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Miles, that's one of the huge differences between the focus on independent consulting, right?
Mhm.
Even though it's Thompson and Associates, I know that they're relying on me,
Yes.
me personally,
Mhm.
to help them. And so that certainly is a gauge with how large a project I can take on and the depth of my expertise. But
Mhm.
once you find that area, where you can be relied on and trusted, it is just so incredibly gratifying that you build that long-term relationship. One of the things that I feel most proud about is that I have a number of clients that I've worked with for more than 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And people
Wow.
come and go, but I
Two
kind of get
decades.
passed along to the next person simply
Uh-huh.
because of that relationship. They know that I'm someone who not only has knowledge and wisdom, but I actually care about the
Mhm.
success of their organization and I care about the success personally. And so when you highlight relationship building, that is such a critical part and the easy part of being in independent consulting as opposed to traditional as a part of a firm having a job. But doing
Yeah.
this as a career, nothing more important than building those long-term relationships. Incredibly gratifying.
Yeah, I'm sure. And, it's more than just a business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the lifestyle part of it. It really gets so well integrated into everything that you're doing that you have such a smaller amount of stress involved. And I certainly, there's always stress in terms of being relied upon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's self-contained. You can develop it as large or small as you want. And it's just such a great way, again, to blend all those different aspects of your life into one and to get paid very well for actually doing that.
Right, right. And listening to you, Leroy, I'm reminded of something I've seen throughout my career. So many professionals carry decades of quiet expertise
I
they
love
don't
that term.
realize is very rare. I mean, they think everyone knows what they know, but they actually don't.
Yeah, yeah. I love that term, Miles. I might have to borrow that from you. Quiet expertise
Well,
really
I think I
does.
got that idea from you. I
Oh,
said,
see, I
you
didn't even know I
reminded me of
created
that.
it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight, your frameworks, and your heart, Leroy. I love it. Your work is changing lives, and it's been a privilege having you with us today.
An honor to be with you, Miles. Thank you so much for this time together to chat.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. So, for anyone watching or listening today, I hope this conversation sparks a moment of recognition that your experience is an asset, not just a resume line. For those of you who want to learn more, you can reach out to Thompson and Associates directly through their website at consultthompson.com. We're dropping the links below. If you're thinking about launching your own consulting practice or if your organization needs maybe clarity in change management, DEI, or leadership development, he's the guy you want to talk to, I'm sure. And with that, we wrap another episode of X-Rays. Thank you for tuning in. Until our next one, this has been your host, Miles, with Leroy, reminding you to stay focused, driven, and inspired with X-Rays.